Trump was asked in an interview whether he would grant himself immunity if elected, or would he just fire Jack Smith, the special prosecutor. Trump made this response, quote, "We got immunity at the Supreme Court. It's so easy. I would fire him within 2 seconds. He'd be one of the first things addressed," end quote. I've been saying for a long time that Trump will fire Jack Smith if elected. Firing Smith, assuming it is not contested in court, would end both federal prosecutions of Trump. Technically, only the Attorney General could fire Jack Smith, who was not appointed by the president but by the current AG, Merrick Garland. There is a federal regulation that a special prosecutor can only be fired for good cause by the Attorney General. I'm going to read that section of the Code of Federal Regulations. Quote, "The Attorney General may remove a special counsel for misconduct, dereliction of duty, incapacity, conflict of interest, or for other good cause, including violation of department policies. The Attorney General shall inform the special counsel in writing of the specific reason for his or her removal," end quote. That's in Title 28, Code of Federal Regulations, Section 600.7, D. I got into the weeds on that one. That would not stop Trump from firing Smith, though he would be better to have the AG do it, and then Trump will blame the AG, claiming that he had nothing to do with it. It would be hard to justify a firing for good cause when the defendant is firing the prosecutor in order to avoid a criminal trial, and that's what would actually be happening in this case. That may even seem a bit strange to a few Trump supporters, that a defendant can rid himself of a criminal prosecution by firing the prosecutor. But I would submit this is the new normal in Trump's America, and no one should be surprised by that eventuality. Trump's reference to immunity in the quoted sentence above that I quoted is telling. He is probably correct that the 6 Republican justices have provided Trump with an extremely broad immunity to commit crimes during his second term, if elected. Trump has said repeatedly that he can do whatever he wants to under Article 2 of the Constitution, and he will certainly, in my opinion, test that belief during a second term. I do believe that Trump will commit more crimes if elected and will claim immunity from prosecution. His Attorney General will not allow any federal prosecution of him during his term, and the Republican judges and justices will, in my opinion, protect him after his term expires and he's a private citizen. If Trump does have Jack Smith fired, then arguably that is obstruction of justice, since the person doing the firing is the one being prosecuted for crimes. If Trump fires Jack Smith, or has it done by his AG, and the Democrats are in control of the House, Trump will be impeached for the 3rd time. I would anticipate that the House Judiciary Committee would hold hearings to build a record that Trump was guilty of committing the federal crimes charged in the 2 pending federal criminal cases, and the firing of the special prosecutor was consequently an obstruction of justice. Of course, it would be a party line vote in the House and would go nowhere in the Senate. No Republican politician who holds office in Washington in either the House or the Senate in 2025 is going to challenge Trump in any way, but all will continue to enable him and will avoid even the mildest fact-based criticisms. They are scared to death of him. Trump is the Republican Party. There can be no question about that now. They've nominated him 3 times as their nominee for president, and he does represent and embody their values. While Trump may be immune from criminal prosecution no matter what he does, given the very broad immunity created by the Republican justices out of whole cloth, he will still be subject to impeachment. I would add that the Constitution does not provide for immunity to the president for committing crimes. Just the opposite. Article 2 of the Constitution expressly provides that the president shall take care that the laws are faithfully executed. And it was clear during the passage of the Constitution and thereafter that the founders believed that the president could be prosecuted for crimes committed while in office. Besides firing Smith, I anticipate that both Alito and Thomas will retire if Trump is reelected, provided the Republicans control the Senate, which I expect to happen. Trump will appoint more reactionary versions of those 2 justices, and those persons will be in their 40s and possibly serving on the court for 4 or more decades. The Republican justices will then continue to turn the nation back to the 19th century ideologies that were dominant during that period. They have already made it clear that the contours of our constitutional rights are defined by the late 18th century as regard to federal action and the late 1860s when the 14th Amendment was adopted for state actions. That is through the incorporation doctrine of the Bill of Rights into the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause, which makes the states subject to federal constitutional legal principles, which I have previously discussed this incorporation doctrine here, and we'll link some video discussions in the more section for anyone interested.